They say when you're in a coma, you don't hear anything, that it's just darkness, silence. But that's not true. I heard everything. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. But I could feel time slipping past me. I remember the beeping machines, the soft whispers of nurses, and the sound of her voice. My wife, Haley. In those early days, she came often. She cried by my side, held my hand, told me to fight. And I did. I fought like hell. For her, for us, for the life we built. But over time, her visits became shorter, less emotional, eventually, less frequent. I lost count of the days, the seasons, the months, but I never stopped listening. I couldn't. One night, I heard a man's voice in the room, laughing, with her. A laugh I didn't recognize, a tone she never used with me. I couldn't understand. Was it a doctor, a friend, a relative? Then I heard her giggle, and she said something I'll never forget. He used to make me feel safe, but you make me feel alive. Something cracked inside me. I wanted to scream, to move, to wake up. But my body betrayed me. All I could do was listen. When I finally opened my eyes, the room was empty. No balloons, no family, no Haley. The nurse gasped, called for the doctor. There was commotion, celebration even. I was alive. I had made it back. But the one person I wanted, needed, wasn't there. It took weeks before I could speak again, even longer before I could walk. I was a shell of who I used to be. The doctors called it a miracle. They said most people don't come back after 6 months. But I had, and the only thing that kept me fighting was her voice, her laugh, her promises. But when I asked about Haley, they hesitated. The staff exchanged looks. One finally said she visited less and less. The last time was over a month ago. Over a month. I'd woken up to a different world, one where my wife had moved on. I was discharged to our home a month later, but our home wasn't the same. New decor, new furniture, new locks, and a car in the driveway I didn't recognize. It took everything in me to walk to the door. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Finally, she opened it, and the look on her face. She wasn't shocked to see me. She looked annoyed. "Logan," she said. No hug, no tears, just Logan. She stepped aside, barely making eye contact. I walked in slowly, every step echoing off the unfamiliar walls. Our wedding photo was gone. So was the painting I'd picked out on our honeymoon. And then he walked in, shirtless, holding a cup of coffee like he owned the place. "Hey babe, who's at the..." His voice trailed off when he saw me. We just stared at each other. I said nothing. I didn't have to. Haley cleared her throat. "This is Tyler." She looked at me like I was the intruder. I sat down on my couch and tried to make sense of what was happening. "You were gone for 6 months, Logan," she said, defensive. "I didn't know if you'd wake up." "You promised to wait forever," I whispered. "And I meant it then," she replied. Tyler had the audacity to put a hand on her shoulder. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I stood up. "This house, this life, everything we built, you just erased it." She didn't stop me as I walked out, but Tyler smirked, and that smirk stayed with me all the way back to the rehab center. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was replaying everything, every second of her indifference. The woman who used to read me poetry in bed now looked at me like a stranger who overstayed his welcome. I scrolled through my old phone, mostly out of habit. Same photos, same messages. But then I remembered something. Before the accident, I'd set up a shared cloud backup. It saved everything, even from other synced devices. So I opened the archive. And there they were, hundreds of new voice memos from Haley's phone. I hit play. Tyler's voice. He's not waking up, Haley. You don't owe him anything anymore. Haley. I know. But the guilt. It's like he's still here, watching. Another file. Tyler again. You deserve a new life. With me. Let's just sell the house before they transfer him home. Sell the house. My house. While I was still in a coma. There were more. Laughter, kisses, even a few arguments about how quickly she was moving on. One file was from the day I woke up. Haley. He's awake. I don't know what to do. You said this wouldn't happen. I sat there in the dark, listening to the betrayal unfold in her own voice. Not just infidelity, not just emotional abandonment, but conscious, cold decisions to leave me behind. The next morning, I left early. Told Haley I needed some air. She barely nodded. I wasn't going for air, I was going for truth. Using some of the info from the voice memos, I figured out where Tyler worked, a trendy tech startup downtown. Of course, he worked in creative marketing. I walked in, pretending to be a delivery guy. Nobody stopped me, just like I expected. That kind of place didn't have much structure. I spotted him easily, wearing a blazer over a graphic tee, laughing with a group near the coffee bar. I stood there for a second, just watching him enjoy his perfect little life. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. In fact, he smirked. Tyler. Well, if it isn't the ghost. He was smug, confident, like he had won. I kept my voice steady. Logan. You were in my house. You slept in my bed while I was in a coma. He shrugged. Tyler. Don't be dramatic. People move on. She made her choice. You were just dead weight. That line. Dead weight. I saw red, but I didn't punch him. Not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted him to see me walk away with dignity. I turned around, but not before saying, Logan, we'll see who she chooses when she realizes I'm not the one who disappeared. And I left, calmly, even though every part of me was breaking inside. When I got home, Haley was waiting for me. She could tell I'd been somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. Haley, where were you? I didn't answer. I just held up my phone, playing back one of the voice memos I'd recorded. It was her voice, whispering Tyler's name, telling him how she wished I'd never woken up. Her face went pale. She sat down slowly on the couch. No more excuses. No more lies. Logan, I know everything, Haley. The phone, the messages, the videos. I even saw him today. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She just looked defeated. Haley, I didn't think you'd ever wake up, and when you did, I didn't know how to leave. Logan, so you stayed, pretended, lied, while living a second life behind my back. She nodded, for the first time, truly ashamed. Haley, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Logan, but it did. We sat in silence for what felt like forever. Then I stood up. Logan, I won't make this harder than it needs to be. I'm moving out tomorrow. She didn't stop me. She didn't ask for another chance. And in that silence, I realized the marriage had ended long before I woke up. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker. It felt strange, like I was watching my old life fade into the distance. The next morning, I packed what little I needed, left the wedding photos, the souvenirs, the bed we used to share. Haley didn't say much, just watched me with red, tired eyes. She didn't beg, didn't fight. Maybe she knew there was nothing left to save. I signed the papers a week later. No drama, no court battles. Just a quiet end to what used to be a loud love. Tyler never reached out. And honestly, I didn't care. They deserved each other. I focused on rehab, on rebuilding my strength, and eventually, my peace. I moved to a smaller place, just mine. Started sketching again like I used to in college. Picked up freelance design work from home. And in that stillness, something beautiful started to grow. A version of me that wasn't broken, but rebuilt. Not because of what they did, but in spite of it. It's strange how life breaks you and then offers you a brush to paint yourself new. A year later, I stood in front of a gallery wall. My sketches, scenes of recovery, betrayal, stillness, rebirth, framed and silent, but full of everything I lived through. People wandered in, studied them, asked questions, not about her, not about him, but about me. For the first time, I wasn't someone's boyfriend or someone's victim. I was just Logan, a survivor, an artist. One woman lingered at my favorite piece, a sketch of an empty hospital bed with sunlight pouring in. She smiled at me, not out of pity, just curiosity. We talked, and that night I walked home feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Light. Not everything broken stays that way. Sometimes being abandoned isn't the end. It's the beginning of a life you truly deserve. And as I locked my apartment door, looked out over the quiet city, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Haley, not at Tyler, because they lost someone who would have loved them through anything. And I found someone far more important, myself.